they had eyewitnesses there during the bloodbath. This was called, saying he actually said these words: "You rape our women, and you're taking over our country." And these are all short-term events, information that came out at the very beginning of the leak of the story. And so this panelist, and I said, I'm not going to name it. Maybe it's best not to name their names because it really doesn't matter. Fox panelists are all the same. Either they're hot blondes or the dorky-looking tall guys who look important. And this guy said it was extraordinary that this event was called a hate crime. I wonder what he thinks of it now, as we've got all this information pouring forth. It's at best very poor journalists who would actually use the word extraordinary, not knowing all the facts, but knowing the facts that were prevalent at the time, and the fact that the authorities who were investigating the crime were calling it a hate crime, and the fact that we had this Facebook page and the patches on his jacket, and the actual eyewitness account of what he said. I'm imagining that he spent that hour sitting down with these black Christians, discussing their part in the American world. And I'm sure at one point he made his intentions clear that he had came in there with the desire to start a civil war, so to speak. He actually, as we find out later through other reports, actually only intended to kill the Reverend Pickney. But the one of the other reverends there, a 74-year-old reverend, as a matter of fact, attempted to stop him, and in that regard, he decided then to begin killing others. So an act of heroism here, causing not only the death of Reverend Pickney, but himself and 7 other people. But nonetheless, I will continue on with the other information here that came forth days later. Joey Meek was a friend of Dilla Roof. A few weeks ago said that while they got drunk together on vodka, Roof began complaining that blacks were taking over the world and that someone needed to do something about it for the white race. And Meek saying, and in actual effect words, that Roof wanted to start a civil war. Meek, during their reunion a few weeks ago, Rip told him that he used birthday money from his parents to buy a .45 caliber Glock pistol, and that he had a plan that was 6 months in the making. He didn't say what the plan was, but Meek said it scared him enough that he took the gun out of Rip's car and hid it in the house until the next day. So I would say that Meek would be a hero, except for the fact that he obviously should have reported this to the authorities and did not. But here again, now all the facts pouring in, and it's obviously a hate crime. So we'll get on to what now Fox News now reports after I'm not going to say they screwed up, but they attempted to hide the possibility. And that, in a way, is screwing up, because when you're a journalist, you look at all the possibilities. And on that first day of coverage from Fox News on the shooting, none of the reports, none of the journalists wanted to venture even to a possibility that this was a hate crime that was racist motivated. So that's where that story stands at this point right now. And they are looking definitely for the death penalty for him. And an interesting clause in the South Carolina law allows an individual to be named to push the button, so to speak. And his uncle has actually stepped forward, wanting to be that such person. So that's an interesting. I think that's an interesting part of the death penalty in South Carolina, to say the least. And one that I actually say. That would be great. I think even better if one of the victims' families was given that privilege, because this man deserves to die.
I need you to step aside, please. I need to search you.
Did I beep?
Oh, no, you didn't beep. Just a random security check. If you could just step aside, please. Just over here.
Random, huh?
Yeah.
So this has nothing to do with my ethnicity?
Come on, just do what the guy says.
Sir, it's our job as airport security to search for all possible weapons or illegal drugs.
So just because of the color of my skin, you assume that I have drugs on me? What are you, a racist?
Racist? Dude, I'm black.
He's black. He's not racist.
Please, dude. You're barely even brown.
No, he didn't mean that.
Compared to me, you look like Matthew Perry.
Gone too far this time, but I'm dancing on the Valentine. I tell you, somebody's fooling around with my chances on the danger line. I'll cross that bridge when I find it. Another day to make my stand. Oh, high time is no time for deciding if I should find a helping hand. Oh, why don't you use it? Try not to bruise it. Buy time, don't lose it. Why don't you use it? Try not to bruise it. Buy time, don't lose it. To reflex is a lonely child who's waiting by the pole. To reflex is in charge of finding treasure in the dark. And watching over lucky clover, isn't that bizarre? Every little thing the reflex does leaves you answered with a question mark. I'm on a ride and I wanna get off, but they won't slow down the roundabout. I sold the ring wire, the TV said, don't wanna be around when this gets out. So why don't you use it? Try not to bruise it. Buy time, don't lose it. Why, yeah, 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 yeah. Why, yeah, yeah. Why, yeah, 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 yeah. Why, yeah, yeah. Why, yeah, 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 yeah. Don't you use it? To reflex is a lonely child who's waiting in the cold. To reflex is in charge of finding treasure in the dark. And watching over lucky clover, isn't that bizarre? Every little thing the reflex does is an answer with a question mark. Reflex. So why, yeah, 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 don't you use it? Try not to bruise it. Buy time, don't lose it. To reflex is a lonely child who's waiting by the pole. To reflex is in charge of finding treasure in the dark. And watching over lucky clover, isn't that bizarre? Every little thing the reflex does leaves me answered with a question mark. The reflex, what a game, is hiding all the cards. The reflex is in charge of finding treasure in
And just one last statement here that is interesting to the story on the shootings in South Carolina by Dylan Roof. was the fact that on his own website, his own computer, he had been registered to a hate group called the Council of Conservative Citizens. Upon this website, there were pages upon pages of these brutal black on white murders. What they were saying is, how could George Zimmerman, the news about George Zimmerman killing Trayvon Martin, go so well noticed while there were hundreds of these black on white murders getting ignored? And that is an interesting point. I'm not a racist. I'm not part of the CCC, to say the least. But it does seem that we do highlight these days minority discrepancies when it comes to murder, when we well know and we're quite aware that several blacks are killing white people every day. I would ask that we take attention to that as well, but not in the way as whites and blacks. This is more of a case of citizens taking their views against other people and their origins in a very hateful way. And this is, in any situation, and under any circumstance, a very bad thing that deserves not only the attention of our country, but some additional laws provided to stop such events from happening. And one way to do that, this event from happening, would have been gun control. To give a gun to someone whom had pictures on his Facebook page showing he was a racist. Not only that, the domain owner on this website was intentionally masked the day after it was registered. Law enforcement officials confirmed Roof as the owner. The site included a cache of photos of Roof posing with a handgun and a Confederate battle flag, as well as with the widely recognized Nazi code numbers 88 and 1488 written in sand. Roof was also seen spitting on and burning an American flag. While some photographs seemed to show Roof at home in his room, others were taken on an apparent tour of South Carolina historic sites, including Sullivan's Island, the largest slave disembarkment port in North America, and at the Museum and Library of Confederate History. And there was not any background information that could have maybe popped that up. This is a racist person who had ill intentions, who was on websites that had ill intentions, and he can go get a gun. And we wonder why 9 black people are now dead in a church in South Carolina. Maybe we should wonder why Dylan Roof was allowed to get a gun. No, Fox News and all conservatives will have none of that. This will never be a gun control issue because they always make sure of that. That's why Fox News comes on the air the day of the shooting and strays as far away as they can from racist hate crime, because then we talk about gun control. And how do we stop this? We stop this by having stricter background checks. And Robert Murdoch does not want that. And neither does, because he's controlled by big business, as he is also big business, and his big advertisers and all the rich people, they don't want that. Gun control is not the answer in their opinion. So, anyways, enough about that story. I hope I have covered it well enough for you. There are other items of interest in Wikipedia you should read. And again, we'll never know what he said and why he stayed the 1 hour before he did what he did. But in my opinion, I think the conversation was much about race. Unfortunately, no one's alive from that conversation to say so. And definitely, if there was, Fox News would find another way to cover that up.
All right! Knock this shit off! I have been having a very bad day. Just got out of jail this morning. Already I have been shot at. I was on the bus that flipped over 17 times. A bitch tried to stab me in the bathroom, and somebody blew up my Porsche. I am in a bad goddamn mood. Now, I usually don't jump in when somebody's getting beat down, But this man, Jack Cates, is going to help me straighten out the rest of